सो गुड इवनिंग एवरीवन। आज शॉर्टहैंड के क्लास में आप लोगों का सभी का स्वागत है। तो मैं आज न्यू सेशन के साथ आप सभी के साथ जुड़ चुकी हूँ। तो आज का जो क्लास होने वाला थोड़ा सा बाकी क्लास से अलग है आपका, क्योंकि मैंने 15-20 क्लास तो शॉर्टहैंड का ले ही लिया है। तो हम लोग अब डिसाइड किए हैं कि थोड़ा बहुत हम डिक्टेशन भी साथ में करवाते ही जाएंगे। तो आज का जो स्पेशल सेशन है वो हम लोगों का डिक्टेशन पे बेस्ड है। तो सामने में आपको यहाँ मैटर दिख रहा होगा, ये मैं आपको बोलकर डिक्टेट करूंगी और आप लोगों को स्ट्रोक में कन्वर्ट करना है। बगल में ऐसे दिया हुआ भी है, उतना क्लियरली आप लोगों को विजिबल नहीं होगा, लेकिन हाँ इसको देखोगे और मैं आपको डिक्टेट कर रही हूँ और आप लोग लिखना स्टार्ट करो। ठीक है, चलिए तो हम लोग अपना सेशन को स्टार्ट करते हैं यहीं पे। और पिछले क्लास में जो भी आप पढ़े हैं उसको एक बार रिवाइज कर लीजिएगा और आज का सेशन में हम लोग आगे बढ़ते हैं। चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं हम लोग। Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, we must find out the main reason why there were so many right petitions for special leave to appeal to the Supreme Court, full stop. That was so because in most of these cases we had made the decision of the tribunal final, full stop. Now under the Constitution, the Supreme Court has got the right to grant special leave of appeal that is naturally untouched. Similarly, the High Court have got right to the power of issue right of course, full stop. I cannot say that it is all without justification. Probably many of those courts thought that in matter where the aggrieved party had no remedy whatever, they should rather have the right to look into the matter, and it was many right issued by the High Court. How we are going to provide in this measure for a direct appeal to the High Court itself? As lawyers member probably know, when there is a remedy by way of appeal, no High Court accordingly issues any right, and the Supreme Court is not expected to the grant any special leave for the appeal. It has therefore been found that desirable to provide the statutory way for the appeal to the High Court by the aggrieved party. I think this will also remove much of delay which is ordinary caused by these matters. Full stop. Sir, apart from that, the clause itself mentioned that the tribunal shall decide the election petition from the point of view probably that we had so many appeal, and so I know that even if we impose such restriction, it may be not be necessary to, so tribunals will dispose of these matter within 6 months, and the High Court also will give priority to matter like these and dispose of these matter within 6 months, and High Court also within give priority to matter like these of dispose in within 3 months. So honorable member will find that the present provision that has been made in the bill is much more satisfactory than the previous one. Sir, there are one or two other matter which are raised by the previous speakers. I will briefly refer to some thought we might make voting compulsory. It is very difficult thing to do in democracy like ours, full stop. We have adult franchise for the 40 crore of people are involved, full stop. These an impossible things. ये आपका एक मैटर होता है यहाँ पे कंप्लीट। नेक्स्ट हम लोग 5 मिनट का जो था आपका, नेक्स्ट हम लोग मैटर की ओर आगे बढ़ते हैं। स्क्रीन पे आपको नहीं देखेगा, आपको सिर्फ साउंड को फॉलो करना है। ठीक है, चलिए हम लोग आगे बढ़ते हैं। नेक्स्ट मैटर की ओर आगे बढ़ते हैं हम लोग। लिखेंगे, herewith we have pleasure in forwarding to use several mining market cutting from this morning paper, and we hope to add there to within a or two old mine have been strongly supported in consequence of the announcement of the success of recent crushing operation, and as the labor costs are likely to be reduced shortly, comma, there is no reason why the experiment should not be carried further, full stop. You will recollect that we warned you against your extreme hopefulness regarding the possibility of the profit from the new workings. But you were to the point of the recklessness have come to light, and unfortunately our pronouncement as to the condition has been justified. We shall send you a supplemental report, rather will keep you constantly advised of any change in a situation. Thank you for your prompt reply to my letter regarding the syllabus of the Southern Institute. I am that nephew should not on of the class he was to begin last session, but obliged to postpone their matter through sudden illness, which caused as unconsiderable anxiety. Unless I am mistaken, I have had the pleasure of meeting Professor Lawson, the principal of the institute, and I shall call upon him next week to arrange about textbooks and the obtain his section to the course which I wish my nephew to take. Thank you also for the invitation to the opening ceremony. I shall certainly be present at the function. It is at all possible. The program is very tempting, and I presume, presume I may bring a friend, full stop. If I am not mistaken on the point, perhaps you will kindly send a postcard to that effect, full stop. नेक्स्ट हम लोग बढ़ेंगे अगला पैरा में. If you wish to write a high rate, you must read and master the rule as to follow them fully and benefit able apply them all occasion. I feel that cannot fail to fall into the true right way if you will only try. The race is to the sure and not to the strong. Do not tarry by the way. Remember the fable of the feeble tortoise that outstrip the hare. Master one thing at a time, and you are sure to win. Set apart for study a small portion of each day, full stop. Have patience. Rome was not built a day, high hills grown less we ascend them, that which is lightly got a little value, full stop. You, if you would get gold, you must dig deeply. It is not gotten the surface. Neither you can enter on the position of learning without some trouble. If you would obtain a high position, you must not be beaten by what is difficult. Let your letter be neat and light, a large, a heavy style best time. नेक्स्ट लिखेंगे द लास्ट सैटरडे टू कंसिडर द प्रिजर्वेशन ऑफ द पार्क ई स्टेट फॉर द use of the general public. Several peculiar circumstances have prejudiced the consideration of the matter in the past, and the of the case in published in the newspaper arrested the attention of many local celebrities who saw that the action was necessary if the reputation of the town was to be upheld. The estate contained some very old ruins in the perpendicular style of architecture, and history is somewhat hidden in op- but the building are in such a state of that new dimmed was to protect for the further decay. It is said that if the local lords were excised, all the probability none of the land would be available for use of the people. But this is very improbable. We need not enter upon the topic which might cause us to show any charitable feeling at the meeting, the chair was taken a publisher who practiced much real charity and who had local bench tribunal of the which are proud. On the platform where Mr. Arthur Johnson, who has performed single service of his town. Next, the chairman said advertisements have been inserted in the local press inviting the residents to give the substantial subscription to the central fund and the amount subscribed being out of the all proportion to expectation. There was now no fear or deficiency and there would be not difficulty in discharging all initial expenses. Full stop. Among the observation made by the speaker, those of the Dr. Roshan were the most participate, participable, and we hope they will have a wide publication. He gave a description of the scheme, somewhat the difference from our, and led the audience to follow it applicable to the present case. Of course, Mr. Smith, who is very far from being deficient in equivalence to practiced speaker, had some wild statement to make. They spoke of the evil of the disposition in which the enjoyment of the life of distributed. His speeches are very unsustainable, but the performer of the it would be difficult to find it equal either in the country in any republic. When the next edition of local paper is published, I will forward you to you a copy. You will be able to realize how unflattering he is in his remark about his call the disproportionate distribution of wealth. Who he wishes to become a fluent speaker must first of all the capable of the making a speech, but it is somewhat said fact that some people are naturally incapable for expressing their thought verbally. It is not abuse of law language, however, to state even nature be overcome and the person may to surprise his friend. His it is only necessary to recall the character of how he developed the characteristic of the great orator of to prove that this is so. It is especially essential for familiar with the detail of the subject beforehand, otherwise the mortgage is place of the chance of the success by an sufficiency of facts, when a sufficiency would probably mean unqualified success. With the precious, the mathematician had should marshal his fact, familiar himself with the illusions to establish them. Keep in a view of immediate purpose of the speech, then there was a certain gesture which can be shooted off circumstance with the mathematical accuracy, but these should be as far removed as possible for merely mechanical action. Full stop. It if the maximum result are to be attained, some fail to green themselves in the matter, the extinguish the possibility of being effective. Further, a homely or familiar style should be cultivated and adopted as occasion requires. Full stop. The efficient cultivation of the voice, the receive especially attention. Unfortunately, it is too often ignored or treated, but the insufficient consideration by those who do not recognize it expendency. फुल स्टॉप. चलिए, तो ये हुआ आपका कितना मिनट का, 10 मिनट का. ठीक है, 10 मिनट के बाद थोड़ा ब्रेक ले लीजिए, उसके बाद हम लोग दूसरा डिक्टेशन स्टार्ट करते हैं. चलिए, लिखना स्टार्ट करेंगे हम लोग. स्टार्ट करते हैं, ठीक है. At any rate, the speaker continued. The reporter was no longer the terror of the public speaker, and now only the reported the speeches of the great lions of the front bench. He believed that the press did not for the cause of progress, but at the same time, he warned his heir to of their influence in the cause of peace, and here implored them to hesitate before they did anything to bring about the horror of war. It is on this question with me, you must not be vexed. I venture to repeat, and under all circumstances, the influence of the press in the matter, as if it were duty of the generalist is not many word to de-announce all war and cry for the peace of every occasion. A notable writer says war is scared, but there can be surely be no doubt that is the absolutely necessary to use for the suppression of and wrongdoing. I may not able to see you for a long to came, so I hope you will not fail to write on this subject. Doubtless you will be able to find some objection to my statement. Still I am able to think that you will modify your views in the early future. If it be not too much trouble to you, will you kindly post to me copies of the pamphlet I lent you some time ago? And although you may not have read all them, perhaps you will give your opinion on those have pursued. We should exhibit charity in our word at all times, and in this spirit I trust we shall always express our thought when writing to each other. Con- Conversational topic. I wish there were more people who would remember the saying that the understand everything is to forgive everything. In other words, whenever there is cause to criticize the action of other, we should try to get all the real motive of the action, and then we should be more charitable towards such person. Full stop. I know there will be some who will object to the view, but my dear friends, if there is to be a longer hearted sympathy about, I am sure there is no other way to attending it than the I am advocating, and no other way in which there is anything like so much chance to or chance of success. Full stop. How can there be a truly brotherly feeling in our heart if we condemn our before is an opportunity of understanding their motives, and if we pass upon their action as hasty judgment? Question mark. In order that there may be an advance in this matter, people we have to look above their own desire of making their way in life all cost, and instead think of increasing their value to mankind in a general. Next, if anyone say he does not need to sympathy of his fellows, he not to find himself of humanity, for the whole structure of society rests upon sympathy among the individuals towards one another. If it were not so, then society as it exists today, we would be impossible. The strongest of us imperatively required sympathy for some time or other. Our natures are certain to call for it, and if it is refused, that which is best in us become wrapped. Full stop. History and literature furnish us with the many examples. This unsympathetic nature is like a beating Arctic wind, but the sympathetic disposition is like blamy breezes of the south, and the more expensive our sympathize, the more nearly do approach towards the ideal of the deserved and pure success. Full stop. अब थोड़ा हम लोग उससे कम स्पीड में बोलेंगे, ठीक है? चलिए, तो हम लोग नेक्स्ट सेशन स्टार्ट करिए। 5 मिनट का और चला, आपका 15 मिनट पे खत्म किए थे, अभी हम लोगों का 20 हो रहा है, तो 5 मिनट का ये 2 आपका हुआ कंप्लीट। अब हम लोग थोड़ा इससे कम स्पीड में देखेंगे अगला। Money has been defined to be desire capitalized, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm content to accept this definition, full stop. I have thought of it in all ways, and I have concluded after consideration of every circumstance connected with the subject that the definition is satisfactory, full stop. I am confident that if you will think of the matter, you will a necessary consequence come to the same conclusion, full stop. In a genuine inquiry, the conclusion is not arrived at without some consideration of the opposite views, full stop. In fact, those views must be considered if we are to come to satisfactory conclusion, full stop. Having regard therefore of the interesting nature of the question before us, comma, it will be agreed that it deserves to be fully considered and must be looked at the every standpoint, full stop. It demands that everything that can be said about it shall be considered, and that anything which may in any way help us to opinion shall be taken into consideration, comma, in point of fact, comma, must be taken into consideration limited space, comma, however forbids my enlarging upon the question in the my manner I would like, so that I must be content to leave out of considerations of which a great deal might be said, respecting which there might perhaps be a disagreement. I shall consider this question more fully in other place. Full stop. Next. Let us consider a few points, and I shall be content to leave the further consideration of the question of the readers. Full stop. A great writer speak on this subject of the money points out that in a view of the future exchange money is it were our security, full stop. For he says it is necessary that he who bring it should be able to get what he wants. If the reader will take into consideration of the full meaning of the last sentence, he will see that what he wants. But the another way to saying what is desire, again another authority declare the coined money is a kind of bill or order payable at the bill of barrier and like manner. Still another writer state that a coin must be considered as a bill upon the tradesman in a neighborhood. Full stop. That is, if I had received a coin for a services rendered to somebody else, I can have or in return anything I desire, which is equal in a value to it, full stop. A fourth authority say money is warrant which give us the barrier to right to draw from society when he desires services according to the value of the coins, full stop. Similar question on the nature of money have been answered by various other writers in the same manner, so that I have concluded that the definition referred to the tolerable tolerably accurate, and it cannot be said that I had came to an unsatisfactory conclusion, and I hope you are satisfied, full stop. Nowadays most of the transaction of commercial and industrial life are carried out as far as possible by means of the various form of paper money the most important of which in this country is the check currency with our banking system provide us, full stop. चलिए, तो ये हो गया हम लोगों का थोड़ा, इससे भी थोड़ा कम स्पीड में, फिर हम लोग करते हैं अगला। You will be glad hear that under the circumstances I was able to attend the lecture and thought a rule I do not care for such meetings. I enjoyed it very much needed having regards to the subject. I think there ought to have been a much larger audience, but some who ought to have known about it pleaded ignorance as justification of their absence with regard to the lecture itself. I have pleasure in giving you a summary of chief point, full stop. In days gone by, according to lecture, it appeared to have been a rule rather than the expectation to walk as much as possible and only the ride when it is absolutely necessary, notwithstanding in the fact that longer hours were worked there than now, full stop. The present day, however, all over the world there is an ever growing tendency on one hand to ignore to a great extent the value of walking, and on the other hand to travel on all the occasions by vehicle of one kind and another, full stop. Unfortunately, as the speaker truly observed, city life of today necessities that use of rapid means, although rapid means of locomotion, but there is no reason why people should, as a matter of course, spend their weekend of their annual holidays assuring of countryside in a motor and rushing across great stretches of country in the train, full stop. Next. In the conclusion, the lecturer said, when first I went to the Portugal, I said all the my countrymen at the easygoing habit of the people of the but in short space time it took me reach my hotel from the landing stage, determined never to say another word against them on the matter, for the enervating who hit took all the energy out of me. In the third place, the traveler learned at first hand the true character of the people among he find himself, and its fact of life are impressed upon him in a way a pages of a book could never effect. In the next place, and in the last place, there are the physical benefit to drive from the walking. Too much food and too little exercise is to root of the most of our bodily ill. And if we would indulge more freely in walking and think less of our ease and trouble of walking, our lives would undoubtedly be free from many of acne and pains of which we are now ready to complain. At the present time, great attention is paid of the north and south pole of the earth, famous all nations. Some of the name are made famous in connection with polar exploration of the who set the farm and succeed in a getting near to the north pole, full stop. All part of the world becoming in fact more and more well known, so that we shall soon regard it as a matter of course that blank on our map will grow less and less, till in a short space of the time they will disappear altogether. Some may exclaim, do you mean to say that the present time we may, as a matter of fact, look the time and discoveries will no longer add to our knowledge of the geography of the world in which from first to last we have been so much interested. We shall be glad to hear when such may be looked for in reply. Attention may be called to be fact in case and by way to illusion Africa may be pointed to. Full stop. For many years past, explorers have plugged deeper and deeper into the hidden risk African continent, and whether right or wrong, they subjected the savage inhabitants in a more or less complete fashion. Full stop. Africa was then divided among the Europeans' power, and exploration was carried out a great extent in the last year of 19th century, so that we are able to make a very complete map on whole continent. Full stop. चलिए नेक्स्ट नेक्स्ट पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज में आते हैं. द वेरियस पॉलिटिकल पार्टी इन दिस कंट्री आर रिप्रेजेंटेड in almost district by local club where party question are discussed and matter affection the welfare of the different parties receive considered. Able attention when known reader visit the district periodically and deliver important speech on such question as party government, party organization, and the relative strength of the several parliamentary parties, etc. The rivalry between the political parties and several to maintain the high standard of the excellence among them. Our professor of commerce is giving a garden party in a month's time. Several well-known people are expected to be present. There will be Professor Morgan, our professor of chemistry, Professor of Jackson, our professor of music, a famous Judge Canol Jackson and Canol Anderson, member of the Conservative Party, and Major Johnson, the prospective candidate of the Liberal Party. Next, the Bank of England was founded in 1694 and it is the most important national bank in the world. It issued bank bill drawn itself for amount between 10 lakh and the director fixed the bank rate to encourage the person of the limited means to save. There are saving bank and penny bank, bankrupt membership, a town council, sanitary authority, education authority of vestry. The disqualification may be decrease in the bankrupt can prove that his bankrupt was due a misfortunate. The bank embankment knows as the theme next to the sum e-bankment, the most finest in the world. I should like to call attention to the fact the special attention must now be given by the bookkeeper to system which enable the merchant to ascend merchant to whether say the skill department to the shipping department or the foreign department of his business is making a profit or a loss. Full stop. A large number of excellent position in the electric department, the paving department, or the cleaning department of our corporation are open to those who have a good knowledge of bookkeeping. Full stop. My attention has been called to youth. Give special attention to give bookkeeping when at school and who is now reaping the reward of zeal. Advertisement appear regularly in the accountant, a general of the commerce, and other weekly journal of person qualified to act a bookkeeper. Next. I'm very glad to inform you that our business had turned out very satisfactory indeed during the past year, notwithstanding that much militated against our progress. Before dealing with the figure in the account, I think it is necessary for me to recall your mind what I said our last meeting. Full stop. You will probably remember these words on this occasion. We have to meet our advice balance, and it is deemed necessary to take immediate step to improve our position. Full stop. At the beginning of the year we brought forward a substantial amount and now we are faced a defect. I am persuaded, however, we could not have done better owing the peculiar circumstances which were in operation during the year. Those who were present at the meeting in the probability remember the statement on the matter in the report. It was felt that by some means we must reason our position, and therefore every circumstance likely to have affected by the profitable working of the company was considered, and the result reflect great credit on all those are concerned in the recognition, and I think that you are satisfied in this respect. Turning to the account for the year now under review, I think you will agree with me that we have done extremely well on the credit side of the trading account. You will find the business done show the increase of amount 20,000. On the other side we show an increase of working expenses, but the increase is not heavy or furnishes us with an example of the fact that the better of the business we do, the lower in the ratio of the expenses. Full stop. On the asset side of the balance sheet, the property account item is the same as before, while the cash show as increase 1200. On the liability side of the balance sheet, the cost of the renovation has been charged to the reverse account, and I think you will quite agree with this. Our dividend for the past 5 years have averaged 10% per annum. Full stop. Early in the coming year there will be a special meeting and discuss the matter of the further developments, and I take the liberty of the urging all the present in the meantime. I trust we shall continue to prosper so that we may have sustainable increase in our profit. It is said that the civilization has deprived man of the love of the nature, and it is not necessary of observer the small proportion of the city dwell who delight in the out of the door life of the find confirmation of this statement. Full stop. This has been spoken of many times, and as we think and as we shall maintain, it is very unfortunate that such a state of affairs exists. Full stop. Nature is ever striving after the perfection, and this is one great lesson of the life. We had a learned that the greatest happiness is to be found in the pursuit of the perfection. For a seventh son says it is more blessed to travel than the arrive. All the lovers of nature should read Stevenson's account of the journey through the northeast of France by the cannon on foot, but a lover of nature, being in perfect agreement with him and wishing to emulate his example, we spent a holiday afloat in France last summer. Full stop. Next. These of us had arranged to make a trip. All of us are members of the same political association, while two are so also connected with a medical association and the third with a trade association. On a Wednesday evening, we left the shores of England and France. Arriving in Paris, we hired a flat boatman, now boat somewhat smaller than we had intended, and from the city we rowed ourselves down the leaving Paris on Thursday. Wait, next. In a November last, we had a lecture electricity, and the chairman in a very interesting speech had he remembered that time when people were afraid of traveling by electric train or tram and regarded an investment in electric undertaking is very unwise ended. He did some tell of life of the lecturer who formerly represented his native town in a parliament, but owing to being irregular in his attendance at Westminster, he had to resign his seat, although a man never better qualified for the work. Several times he had complained of the want of independence of the member, so much humiliating position in which the often placed and looked upon the routine work of the parliament as uninteresting. Among all these things, one of the which was a story of this skipped when a boy, a chairman mentioned that and this youth be lecturer was very regular in his attendance at the local technical school and gained several certificates for the science subjects. In the representation of this tutor and clever man who was responsible for the organization a large electrical company, the governing director of which was a member of the automobile club. The lecturer specialized on electricity, and now he was one of the foremost lecturer of days and considered a first class organizer of the electric exhibition. The lecturer said electricity is evidence everywhere today. It is in fact the life of a progressive people despite the content and enthusiastic effort of electricians, and the exact number of the electricity is unknown. Full stop. Among the reform for the science of responsible, none has been more singularly beneficial for the race than the application of electricity to the need of mankind. The reform is now turning his attention to domestic duties, which are undergoing a revolution in hand of the electrical engineer. Certainly, the reformation is very slow, and it is very unfortunate that housewife in country should show some opposition or to method of electric cooking of electric cooker. He could not speak to enthusiastically. They do not fluctuate in temperature. The result obtained yesterday will be obtained today. It if the same conditions are imposed. He spoke of the sensibility of the electric wave in air of various methods of producing electricity, which were far from being uniform, gave a wonderful account of the generating of electricity by the force of water. Full stop. All were in the praise of the lecture. In this age, we hear such remark about the decadence of sport. Very satisfactory to find so many Englishmen taking a fairly sympathetic interest in the university boat race. Full stop. Minister of Crown has various duty to perform on behalf of other government. It is at the controlling to financial business of the country and looking into matter of expenditure, and in this work he has often to meet criticism from a wealthy classes, from leaders of commerce, and from manufacturer because he seek to tax the commodities they manufacture or export. It is in the month of January, February, March that he begins to think of his budget for the coming financial year. Another, the exchanging views of the foreign power, and it is necessary that he maintain an manner of all circumstances and displays a bold spirit in his views. Full stop. A third is maintaining the maintaining the state of our course or considering the in in our navy which is expensive and formulating plan for making more efficient a fourth has been deal with the treatment of prisoners who are confined our offense or various kind and thought he may not be kindly man he must not be false motive in the discharge of his duty. A fifth is considered with the health of metropolitan and other areas through the land. In addition to all these, such ministers are cross-examined in parliament and the result of such cross-examination depend very greatly on the personal magnetism of the holder of the office. During the winter month of the committee of our institute organization number of lecturers at each of these there is a chairman a representative of the local industry. Some of the committee are favor of having subject which allow only one style of treatment. Our late secretary resigned because he thought that the committee neglected good opportunities of enlightening the public on the some data debatable topic which were discussed upon by irresponsibility individuals somewhat ill informed and who were interested in the propagation of the certain principle without any regard for the sensibilities of other. We regret that should have be duties we had performed in a most disinterested manner, and we certainly think that such topic will have to be incorporated in our program or shall be guilty in a serious negligence and lose a connection which may be irrecoverable. नेक्स्ट एक लास्ट है हम लोगों का, वो भी कर लेते हैं. If you wish to write a high rate, you must read and master of rules so as to follow them fully and be able to apply them on all occasions. I feel that you cannot fail to fall into the true and right way if you will only try. The race is to the sure and not to the strong, only try. Do not tarry by the way. Remember the fable of the feeble tortoise that outstripped the hare. Master one thing at a time. You were sure. Set apart for study small portion of each day. Have patience. The almost innumerable term connected with the business should be understood by all engaged in trade. They are introduced into the particularly every transaction, and he should be considered incom- incompetent who did not understand them. The mastery of this term is not a task of such magnitude as to disconcert anyone of reasonable self reliance of the self control. No enterprising man in turn a moment a doubt to his ability to learn this significant term. Full stop. The termination of goods to a commission agent to other involve the preparation of the document which will be ensure the transfer of the good to his without necessary delay. The agreement of counselor invoices and other form properly inscribed at the uh, attested must be recognized as a common matter of the daily routine, and a man who feel comfortable if he were ignorant of these things. Herewith we have pleasure to forwarding you several mining marketing cutting from this morning paper, and we hope to add there within a day or two. The old mine having strongly supported in consequences of the announcement of the success of the recent crushing operation, and as the labor cost as likely to be reduced shortly, there is no reason why experiments should be not carried further. You will be recollect that we warn you against your extreme hopefulness regarding the possibility of the profit from the new working, but you are the point on the recognize the pronouncement as to be mineralogical condition has been justified. We shall send you a supplemental report later and will keep you constantly advised and any changes in the situation. नेक्स्ट 5 मिनट का और है हम लोगों का. Truth has been divided into three kind: truth about thing, truth about thought, and truth in the accurate expression of the thought about thing. According to the accent authorities, truth could be said to be a correspondence between thought and thing, full stop. It seems perfectly easy for anyone to think accurately about a thing with which is quite well acquainted, full stop. But the case is not quite so simple as that, and there is without doubt a great deal to said before it can be cancelled. Simple: supposed an unfortunate accident occurred in a London street, and the 6 people witnessed the accident and were asked to relate exactly what had happened, full stop. It is quite certain that we should receive different account from each of them. The result would not correspondence between thought and the thing thought about, and so the statement would not be true, full stop. It is be regretted that limited space prevent a more extended argument. Thought we could extend it if we carried to do so, full stop. चलिए, तो हम लोगों का आज का जो डिक्टेशन का है क्लास वो होता है यहीं पे ओवर. आई होप कि ये क्लास आप लोगों को बेनिफिशियल लगा हो. तो आप लोग क्या करोगे, जिसका जितना स्पीड है उसके हिसाब से आपका डिक्टेशन ले लिया गया है, आप उसको बाद में भी ये वीडियो को देख के अपना डिक्टेशन करते रहोगे. ठीक है, तो ये हम बीच बीच में क्लास के बीच बीच में ये डिक्टेशन का क्लास भी लाते ही रहेंगे. ठीक है, तो आज का क्लास जिसको भी अच्छा लगा होगा वो जरूर से लाइक शेयर सब्सक्राइब करिए चैनल को, और हम लोग ऐसे ही अलग अलग शॉर्टहैंड के क्लास में हम लोग डेली न्यू सेशन के साथ मिलते हैं. आज का क्लास हम लोगों का यहीं तक रहेगा, तो थैंक यू.